So after you returned home from China, what was the reception like after the trip?
Well, I was asked by the president to do something that had not been possible for years, namely to go to American university campuses and propagandize, defend, promote the policy. Nobody from the executive branch had been able to go to universities because of the Vietnam War and student opposition to it. But I was pretty well received. And I gave over 100 talks, including one at the president's alma mater on his behalf, Whittier College in California. And I think people did appreciate the explanation for the reasoning behind the change of policy and some realism about China. Now, I have to say that the history of Sino-American relations, which go back really to the 1830s, is one of mutual misunderstanding and wide swings in mood. And I was very interested to see the difference between liberal Americans who were somewhat horrified as they encountered China and its political regimentation, and right-wing Americans who liked the fact that when they went into a classroom, all the kids had short hair and stood to attention when the teacher entered, and were very disciplined. And of course, China was, as I said earlier, not at all what Americans had imagined. So after the trip opened the way for congressional visits to China, and the beginning of some kind of commercial relationship. And Americans began to visit China as tourists or for business. This was an eye-opener for Americans. And I think the Chinese they spoke with were also taken aback by the Americans they encountered, who were not the demons they had imagined.
After Nixon's visit, U.S.-China relations were in an interesting period. Rapprochement had begun, but official diplomatic relations had not yet been established. What were some of the challenges presented by this unique period and ways the relationship was approached?
One of the things we were deeply concerned about was to insulate the relationship that we had begun from political upheavals in China. So this led to the suggestion of an exchange of liaison offices. These were concrete, both literally and figuratively, manifestations of the new relationship. After a while, 1973, it was agreed that we would do that.
A new idea, or had it been done before?
There had never been anything called a liaison office in diplomatic history, which was one of its great merits. Nobody could tell what it portended. Some people could imagine that it forecast normal diplomatic ties. Others could imagine that it was just what it was, a means of communication. Anyway, in 1973, I was part of the small team that opened the U.S. liaison office in Beijing, and it was a good thing that we did that. The Chinese, of course, opened an office here, and I was the principal liaison with their team when I came back from Beijing. Much to our surprise, the first political upheaval wasn't in China. It was here, with Nixon's Watergate dismissal from office, impeachment, and resignation. This brought to power Gerald Ford, who inherited Nixon's commitment to normalize relations with China, but lacked the political clout to be able to carry that off. And of course, Ford was defeated in 1976 by Jimmy Carter. On the Chinese side, there was also a political upheaval. Investment in liaison offices turned out to be a very useful thing.